On the next all-new episode of My Adventures with Superman.
What's happening? You kidnapped me?
Yes. Someone had to extricate you from that backwater planet. You're welcome.
Am I in outer space? What's going on?
You can't just hold people against their will.
Where am I?
My Adventures with Superman. New episode. Next Saturday at midnight on Toonami. Next day on Max. On the next all-new episode of Zom 100.
Seeing him run like that is hilarious!
Get the injured inside first! Lock the door!
This way, everyone!
What's wrong? Going home already, are we? Why do that when the night's still young? I think we should play outside a little longer.
Zom 100. Bucket List of the Dead. Next Saturday at 12:30. Only Toonami on Adult Swim.
Hello everyone, welcome to Toonami Therapy, our podcast on June 12th of 2024. Just to be clear, when I say our podcast, I'm saying Toonami Therapy is a podcast, not the date. So, anyway, moving on. I'm Michael.
Yeah, hello, I'm Tommy.
And this is again our podcast, like I just said, where we talk about anime and Toonami. Usually anime, sometimes Toonami at least. Okay, so I guess we can just get into it. We've gotten. I did end up watching Toonami Rewind again, so I'll be covering that. The order, at least we're going for now, if we do that, is we watch the stuff we talk about the stuff on the regular Toonami, we talk about the stuff off Toonami we've been watching, and then we conclude with Toonami Rewind. So it's like a sandwich, I guess.
Yeah.
So, yes, I don't think there's any new important news about Toonami to mention, so I guess we can just jump right into it. So we've started off with, again, My Adventures with Superman, episode 14. So basically, let's see, Lois's father wants to leave because he's afraid he's putting them in danger. There's a bunch of stuff with them, and then he ends up, leaving anyway after saying, oh no, I'm not going to. Then he decides, nah, I'm going to. Meanwhile, there's basically, we find out that Lex is trying to, foment fear about Superman, about, how he's really strong, and if he decides to be bad, that'll be really bad. And then, basically, Clark gets kind of depressed about everything and decides to use the thing to try to contact his cousin Kara, I think was her name, who I assume is going to show up the next episode because she's in the preview.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was basically it. I wasn't huge on the fact, unfortunately, that remember, I think I mentioned a few episodes ago, okay, oh man, it looked like they were going to do the cliche thing, oh, Superman wants to have an impressive date with Lois, but then a simple one, and everyone tells him to make it a complex one, and then he does that, and then she said she wanted the simple one, which didn't happen because that plot point kind of got dropped. So that was good. This time, unfortunately, we go with one of the more cliche things, which is when he's listening into a conversation between Lois and her father, hears something bad, leaves, literally 1 second before she says something that clarifies the preceding sentence. Like, she says, yes, he is different. Then he leaves. And then she says, but that's what I like about him. Doesn't he have super hearing? Shouldn't he hear that extra thing anyway?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I don't think I have too much to really say about this episode.
Yeah, I don't really have much to say about it, but I will say that it's at least entertaining. So, I don't have a problem with it. It may not be anime, but I don't have a problem with it leading off.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, then we'll move on to Zom 100. We've got episode 8. So, they end up meeting up with, I guess, the last member of their group, Beatrix, who's German and speaks with what I think is a German accent. I just kind of realized, I just suddenly have to realize, wait, what does a German accent sound like? It's weird that I think about it and I'm like, what does it? I can do it think of that for other languages, but for some reason, like, I didn't even think that was German. I thought that was like something different. But anyway, so she's there and she basically came to Japan because she's super interested in Japan. And her joke is when she goes on these big, what's the right? I can't lecture isn't the right word. Big speeches about things in Japanese culture, and then the episode just speeds them up to get through them quickly.
Yeah.
So they go and they because they want to go to this place to get sushi, so they go there and then they get the sushi, and the sushi is good. Unlike Food Wars, no one's clothes fly off, but they sure say the sushi was good. Then apparently, I guess it decided, oh yeah, we need to have that. So then they go to a hot springs as an excuse for clothes to fly off. But then they get attacked by zombies there, so then they have to run off. I'm not sure exactly how, because that was really weird. Well, no, I'll go back into it. Then they so they leave. Then they end up finding a more natural hot springs, I think, and then they just go there. Unless we get done with the hot springs episode, he ticks off like the relaxing a hot spring thing off his list, and the writers tick off have a hot springs episode off their list. Now, what I was gonna say, it was so weird. So they're at the hot springs, and then a bunch of zombies come out of it. And I'm thinking, okay, were they just underwater the whole time? Like, where did they come from? Because they come out of the water and a bunch more come. So where did all these zombies come from, and how did they not see them? It was very weird.
Yeah. Yeah, that didn't make much sense to me, but remember, it's not supposed to make sense.
Yeah, it's a weird show.
Yeah. So I'm okay with it. It's I like this new character. I thought that the joke of her speeding through her explanations of Japanese culture, that got a little overused in this episode, but I still thought it was okay, the episode.
Yeah, it was okay, I guess. I did keep thinking that at least when she's in the sort of armor she has, I keep thinking, wow, she looks kind of like Saber from Fate Stay Night, doesn't she? At least not like super much, but at least it reminded me of that. Okay. I don't, so that was it. Basically, you get the Hot Springs episode, and then you move on, I guess. So, and in that, I guess we'll move on.
Yeah.
Okay, we got One Piece episode 670. So, let's see. We still get a bunch of fighting in the Coliseum over the flame fruit that involves none of the characters that of the main characters, and none of them we knew before this arc. Well, I think we knew about Sabo before, but we just kind of assumed but like that was just in a kind of brief flashback, if I remember correctly. Well, anyway, so they do a bunch of fighting there. Meanwhile, the other characters are still doing their stuff in the in the plan to stop Doflamingo, and I guess the big thing is that Zoro says that he's going to fight Pika and tells Luffy and Viola to go on. He's like, come on, look, I gotta get a fight in this arc. So you guys go on and I'll fight this guy. I mean, I already know Luffy's gonna fight Doflamingo, so he's got dibs on that. I might as well take out this guy. And
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't really have much to add on that.
I feel like we just don't have much to say about these episodes so far, but there's usually not terribly.
Sorry.
No problem with that. There's usually not that much to say about One Piece other than to talk about how padded it is.
Yeah.
In fact, let's actually take a look. How much did this chapter adapt? I probably should have had this pulled up ahead of time, but let's look it up. Episode 670. I do appreciate the fact that because One Piece is so popular, they have all this detailed information of how much it adapts on like the pages on the One Piece wiki. All right, let's see. Statistics. We've got, okay, this one adapts. Technically it adapts, so it adapts part of 3 different chapters, but in total, it ends up being about half a chapter. Because, so there's usually 19 pages in a chapter. Well, more like 18, I think, because usually the first one is just like some random drawing that the author did. And so we've got pages 16 and 17 of chapter 736. 4 to 11 of the chapter after that, and 2 to 3 of the chapter after that. So,
wow.
So put all those together, and you get like that's 11 pages, which is a little more than half of a chapter. Ugh. But don't worry, from everything I've heard, the pacing gets worse. Yeah, let's end on that optimistic note. We'll move on to Naruto Shippuden. We're on episode 490. So Shikamaru and the 2 characters whose names I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure they're only important in this arc anyway, go to the place they were trying to get to. They want to try to, basically, so they're going to the place to do the thing for their mission. That's how I always think about it. So basically it looks like, one of the girl, I can't remember her name, like decides to betray them, but then it turns out, no, it was a trick. She didn't really betray them. And it's a good thing that was a ploy, because, oh boy, I was going to call out Shikamaru for being a complete idiot in everything he did and completely out of character. But it was like, no, I was only pretending to be stupid. I'm like, okay, that mostly takes care of things, I guess.
Yeah.
And, yep, that's basically our episode.
Yeah. I was thinking Shikamaru was seeming like out of character, because it was like, he's usually not that dumb, but it all makes sense now.
Yeah, there's a part where he discusses with one person, hey, we might have to kill the other person in our group while she's listening in. I'm like, okay, come on, Shikamaru, you should have your ninja abilities to know that. But again, that was just that was part of a thing to make it seem more plausible that she would go with that, and she was presumably in on that. And then there's a part where he thinks, you betrayed me also, which was dumb, but again, that was him, acting. So those things, those were fake things. I'm sure someone could still say, well, some parts of the plan still didn't make all that much sense, but at least, I'll give them credit. It was kind of funny because I was watching it, and at the end I was thinking, wait a minute, this seems too over the top. Maybe this is some kind of ploy. And then it was. And I'm like, okay, well, yeah. Unfortunately, that's all I really have to say about the episode.
Yeah.
Okay. So, moving on from the Toonami stuff. Yeah, it's probably not a bad thing we're going through some of these a bit faster because, oh man, we've got so many series to talk about now.
Yeah.
We've got my teen romantic comedy SNAFU. We've got 37 or episode 11 of the third season. So basically, we have there's a bunch of talking stuff, and then in what I think is probably, and then I guess, let's see, and then I guess Yukino and Hachiman apparently get together, but they stay in like the most roundabout way possible.
Yeah.
And except Yui apparently knew that was happening because she's really sad, except no one specifically said it. So I guess everyone I don't know. But that's apparently what happens. They get together apparently.
Yeah, you know, the way these characters talk, you know, it's kind of hard to discern what's going on, but I guess they're a couple now, and he's made his choice, so we finally have the romance part of the teen romantic comedy is wrong as I expected. So we got the romance finally. It took long enough, but we got it.
Yeah, just so many of the conversations in the series are like characters saying things as if they're privy to information I'm not. Now it's possible I'm just not picking up on stuff and I'm being dumb. Or maybe the show just isn't explaining it well, or maybe both. I just was thinking about the conversation in which they apparently get together without actually saying they get together. So was like just such a roundabout thing. I always just remembered that bit from the last episode of Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood where well, technically, I guess the next, this might be a slight spoiler, so just a warning. It's the part where Ed is, I think it's supposed to be some sort of proposal to Winry, and he says, like, equivalent exchange, I'll give you half of my life, you give me half of yours. And then she said, well, why does everything have to be equivalent exchange with you? I can give you my whole life. And then kind of pauses and thinks, no, that's too much. And then decides on 85%. And the whole, yeah, that was funny. That was a cute scene, and this made me think of that. Except for the fact that whereas that one was kind of cute and like funny, this one was just like, okay, I guess they got together apparently in their very roundabout way. But I guess so many things in the show are roundabout that it that it fits.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I have that much else to say about it. It's like the characters get together. Well, I guess they did. I don't know. Like I said, that's the problem. It's so roundabout. I can only assume that's what happened, but yeah.
Doesn't it always feel to you like you're missing something? Like you feel like you're missing something when they talk. It's like, okay, like what is going on that I am not seeing?
Yeah. That does.
So one episode left.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay, so I guess there's that. Yeah, I mean, I guess there's there's all this talk about codependency and words and such. And I don't know, maybe if someone understood this better than me, they would probably really like it. I'm just left a bit confused, unfortunately. So I guess in a certain way it fits again that this is the way they do it, but it just kind of felt, to me at least, like, since there are so many things where I was kind of left wondering, like you, am I missing something? And maybe I am missing something. I don't know. Maybe I'm that could be it. I want to admit maybe I'm just being stupid, but that still just is kind of how I ultimately ended up thinking about it. Okay. All right. So we've got one more episode of it, and we'll see what happens there. All right, moving on. We've got Full Metal Panic Second Raid Episode 8.
Okay, so Sosuke comes back and he talks to Tessa, and Tessa loses it because she perceives him to be choosing Kaname over her. So she just kind of loses it. And then Sosuke and Kurz end up meeting this new guy, which, believe it or not, is not the guy I've been talking about. So, no, we still are yet to have a formal introduction to the guy I was talking about.
The one that you say that you didn't like?
Yeah, so this isn't him.
Okay.
So whenever I saw this episode, I'm like, great, you're gonna think this is the guy I've been talking about, and it's like, no, it's not him. So he kind of uses the opportunity to try to toughen up Sosuke a little bit, and Kaname's still off on her own, and that's kind of it for the episode.
Yeah, did we see Kaname in this episode?
Yeah, I'm not sure if we had. Maybe it was my imagination.
Yeah, I was wondering if the guy who showed up was the person you were talking about, because he initially came across as a super big jerk, but then you find out, oh no, he was just deliberately trying to antagonize Sosuke because it was part of a plan to try to make Sosuke, what was it called? Activate the thing? I can't remember what it's called.
The lambda drive.
No, didn't it start with an A or something? Maybe
the Obelisk.
Yes,
or something.
That was it. That was it. Something like that. So then you find out that no, he's actually a decent guy, and the person that he was insulting in front of Sosuke was actually someone he admired, and the whole thing was an act. So that worked out okay. But yeah,
the guy I've been talking about, he appeared in this episode, but he wasn't introduced.
So many. You've built it up so much for me. Yeah, I thought this was a decent episode. I probably say that of all of the, I've often commented that I think the show is usually better when it's going for kind of fun stuff and not so good when it's going for serious. But this was more on the serious, and I don't know, this was probably one of the best of the more serious episodes from this series so far.
Yeah, I would say so too. Yeah, definitely.
All right, so we go to Dark Gathering, episode 15. The episode is named Old F Tunnel. The previous one was named Old F Tunnel. Anyway, so basically in this episode, they're trying to fight off the bad ghost. It's, the serial killer one. They use, of course, one of their powerful ghosts, nearly get killed by Eddie in the process, but they manage to get away. That beats it. They are able to capture it. They get a bunch of the other. They also go to all the other ghosts that are around there, and Yayoi does some sort of test thing to see which ones were actually evil and which ones weren't, and kind of just gets, so she's like, the nicer ones I'll bring to the temple, and the other ones I'll actually use for my purposes. Anna, that one girl we met before, yeah, she wasn't any of them, but she does pop up because she gets super annoyed that the main character survived because she got killed before, and tries to kill them, but doesn't work. Yayoi stops it, except then Eiko's like, well, we were maybe kind of briefly friends when we were in the tunnel, so I guess I'll just take the little, paper thing you put her into and decide what to do with it. So knowing the way these things usually work, we'll probably either get the answer next episode, or it will be completely forgotten. It will not be mentioned again for 20 episodes until it just suddenly gets brought up again. Guess we'll find out. And that's basically our episode.
Yeah, I thought it was a pretty good episode, actually.
Mm-hmm.
An improvement on some of the more recent episodes. It was better, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
It was more entertaining. I know it's a thing where I can't be frightened anymore because it's desensitized me to it, but I still thought it was a pretty entertaining episode.
Yeah. Also, I didn't realize this because I just happened to be looking at some older discussion about it, and then now that I've seen someone mention it, I can't unsee it. This series, when you stop to think about it, this is Pokemon. They capture things, use them to fight other things, and then capture those things. That's literally what they're doing. They just capture the ghosts and use them to fight other ghosts and then to capture those ghosts.
Yeah. I didn't think of that. Never thought of that.
Anyway, yeah, we got that. All right, then we get to KonoSuba episode, 26, where I think this makes it the midpoint of this season. I'm pretty sure this is the end of the volume, the arc or the volume that this part of the story was. Basically, so Chris shows up against Kazuma and tells him, hey, we got to go and get the special, what was it called? The divine treasure. So they need to do that. So they end up working together to, infiltrate the castle, beat some people, get the body swapping one away. Kazuma is basically doing his Sid from Eminence and Shadow impression through a bunch of this episode. And then, they managed to get it, although Kazuma also inadvertently grabs this ring from the princess, and which apparently is something about how it's supposed to be one given to whoever she marries, which I guess she knew Kazuma did it, so I did it and is like, oh yeah, and I guess she likes him, so I guess maybe that makes her, is Kazuma starting to get a harem of a Kazuma of all characters? But I don't know. And then they all just kind of leave, and yep, that's. Oh yeah, Darkness does figure out, if it matters, does figure out that Kazuma and Chris were the ones who did it, and not to, and she's the one who tells him this stuff about the ring and says, hey, don't let anyone know, she's only supposed to give it to whoever she wants to marry, so all that stuff. And that's basically our episode.
Yeah. This one I wasn't too impressed with. I don't like this Iris character, which you said is very popular. I hope she's going away for a while. I want to get back to the main characters again, so Hopefully, we don't have to deal with Iris anymore, but I'm not going to hold my breath on that. Yeah. Yeah, it was an okay episode, but not a great one.
Okay, let's see. Looking at, I think if I remember correctly, I can't find it offhand, but there's 2 popularity polls. The first one, well, hang on, let me search up. Let me just put in first to see if I can find it. No, unfortunately, all of this stuff is just is like the second one. The second one went. I'll just say it again: Aqua, Megumin, Darkness. Iris, Eris, Yun, Kazuma, Wiz, Chris, and what was the last one? I can't remember. The guy with the mask, that character. Bonner, something like that. Vonner, that was it. That's it. So that was the order of that one. So yeah, Iris was pretty high up in 4th place. After, well, I mean, she was the highest after the main 3 girls, so yeah, she is pretty popular. I kind of watched this wondering, okay, why is she so popular? And at the end of this arc, I'm actually still kind of confused. I didn't really dislike her. I was just kind of mostly neutral towards her, so I don't know. Maybe she shows up later and has some things that make her more popular, or maybe they just really like the sort of the kind of little sister characters, which would probably make some. Which honestly, that might just be it. Let me just check this quick. Okay, when was this poll done? This was about 5. This was in 2019. How far along? As of 2019, at this point, what was the exact month? This one was done, I think, after the second to last volume of the series was released. So I don't know if Iris shows up again. She probably does. And okay, sorry, I looked it up. Yes, she does show up again in a later volume. So maybe that's the thing that made her popular or not. I don't know. But okay, I'm sorry. I keep going on about this. I just mentioned it because I have been just continually, whenever I saw that, I was wondering, oh, this character we haven't been introduced to. She's really popular. I wonder what made her so popular. So I don't really get it so far. If it was at this point, I'd think, oh, I guess they just really love the little sister sort of character. But again, maybe she'll show up again later. Well, I know she will show up again later. She apparently gets a bunch of focus in volumes 10 and 11. Right now we've, I believe, just cleared volume 6, if you want to know about how far we are. So we're still a bit a ways from there, probably a few seasons, because each season, I think, goes through about 2 volumes in KonoSuba.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the rate at which they go through the light novel volumes, it depends a lot on the anime. KonoSuba each season has done 2, I think. Let's see, what are some of the other light novel ones we've gone through? I know ReZero went through them faster. Let me just pull this up again. Yes, more tangents and fun for everyone. Let's see, let me just pull up the list of volumes. Which one was this? Let's see. Okay, right. So the first 2 seasons of ReZero, which to be fair were twice the length of the KonoSuba season, so this is like kind of the equivalent of 4 seasons, went through 15 volumes. So it went through about 4 each core. Every like 12 episodes, it went through 4 basically.
Sorry about that.
That's about twice the speed of KonoSuba. Although then again, ReZero's second season, so many of those episodes were so long that that those 24 episodes were more like, 33.
Yeah.
as long as we're on the subject of ReZero, I mentioned this to you, but I guess I'll say it. Yeah, they've announced that apparently they're going to release the first. It's a little unclear about whether this is like what they did with Freerun or if it's more like Oshinoko, but they're going to have like a big 90-minute premiere. And when I say that, I mean it's which one it is, because Oshinoko, there's a super long first episode, and that was just it. That is the episode. With Freerun, they aired it originally as one big episode, but then, you know, like you go like Crunchyroll to watch it, and it's 4 different episodes, which I assume might do however they show it on reruns. I think it's probably the latter one, because 90 minutes is like, you know, exactly the right thing for 4 episodes, but we'll see. And also, if you go to, what was it? Was it Anime Expo? You'll be able to see all of it next month.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we've gotten all of that. Yeah, it kind of makes a little sense, I think, to do that. I know a bit about the next arc, and it does kind of start with a bunch of sort of setup stuff. So they might kind of want to say, okay, we want to get it out and have it get where stuff really starts. So I don't know exactly where that is. There's like kind of 2 spots I can think of where you might want to do this. If you want to do it on sort of a cliffhanger, it would be at the end of volume, I don't know the number, but the volume of the series that's the start of the new arc. Or you could go on a little longer and get past that sort of cliffhanger thing there to resolve some stuff and basically go through some of the loops. And I'm trying to be vague, but I'm saying that, and go through the conclusion of that. Yeah, I can't go into more specifics without spoilers. And honestly, even if you have been spoiled, what I said might have been confusing. So I'll just move on. Anyway, that's the thing. They're obviously trying to make a big deal out of that premiere. So we'll see when we get there. That won't be for, you know, about 4 months still. Unless you go and get to watch the preview that they're having there. And it's also pretty far from where I live, so I'm not going. Okay. So, all right, our obligatory tangent over. We got through KonoSuba, and I don't think I have anything else to say about that. Basically, we ended this arc, and then we've got Kaiju number 8. We're on to episode 5. So, the test is over. It turns out that we find out that, yes, Kafka passed because, according to, I can't remember his name offhand, but the guy with the bull cut, he like says, well, he's funny. That's at least his official reason. He has a secret reason that he's suspicious of Kafka and wants to keep an eye on him. But then, but then they try to, and I don't know what the difference is between a regular one and a cadet. Maybe it makes him more provisional, I guess. Maybe the point is that he's entered at a lower level to emphasize the fact that, yeah, he only barely made it. Anyway, so they basically go there. Kikoru does, now that she's able to talk to Kafka again, say, yeah, okay, I'll keep your Kaiju identity a secret. Then they meet a bunch of the other recruits, and yeah, that's the main stuff in the episode.
Yeah, I thought it was a pretty funny episode, and yeah, I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, it was fun. It did, introduce some more characters. We had, I guess, Kafka and Mina actually interact for the first time in the present. Even if it was just kind of briefly of him giving an outburst he meant to keeping his hat, and her saying, you don't get to do that. You have to outburst like that. You have to do a bunch of push-ups. So other than that, it really was, a lot of it was just kind of more comedy stuff. But we find out that, yes, Kafka did manage to get into it. What a twist it would have been if he didn't. Nope, you didn't manage to make it. Well, I guess show's over. That, or maybe he'd become like some sort of like rogue person who would, like, you know, maybe it it would be funny if, what other things could have been done. Maybe he gets a costume and, becomes like a crime fighter. And people don't know he's a kaiju because he's in the costume. He's just some really strong guy.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought it was pretty entertaining. I'm pretty excited to see where this goes next. I'm glad I didn't give up on it, although it was never a thing where I was ready to give up on it. It just, I just felt it was a little too much like Attack on Titan. Hopefully, it stays away from that Attack on Titan-ness. And we'll see where it goes from here.
Well, I want to make a joke, but I'm trying to think of like the goofiest thing that was in Attack on Titan that I can use to make fun of. Well, so far we haven't had Kafka go back in time to tell his father to do something that thereby sets up the plot of the series, which causes him to go back in time to do it. And Kafka also hasn't basically said when asked, so wait, why did you do all this? And he hasn't said, I don't know, I guess I'm an idiot.
Oh man.
Okay.
That summed up the entire show in one line.
Anyway, I wouldn't be that hard on Attack on Titan. I did really like the first few seasons. Well, I really liked parts of the first 3 seasons, and I especially liked the second half of the 3rd season, which I still think is if that had been the whole series, it would be my favorite anime, no question. But I just didn't like where it went afterwards. So, but anyway. Okay, I guess that's it for that series. And then we can move on to the Toonami Rewind series. I don't know if we'll say too much about them, but let's go. So we've got Sailor Moon Episode 2.
Okay, so basically the one boy, I think, what's his name? I think it's Umino. He has a crush on Usagi, and then he gets captured by this, along with all these other people, by this monster of the week, and Sailor Moon has to come and rescue them from it. And there's a bunch of Usagi apparently has found her Hojo. If you remember Hojo from Inuyasha, that's a long way back, but that was the boy Kagome was in love with before she met Inuyasha. So Usagi has her Hojo, and she also meets up with Mamoru, who is, I think his name's Mamoru. And yeah, just Monster of the Week, typical thing. And the important thing about this episode is that it was never shown on the original dub. This was never shown, so that makes it kind of unique. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's all I got.
Yes, it was. If you go to, say, the Wikipedia page on the season, it does list. For this one, it's kind of funny because for the first episode, and last week I mentioned that weirdly it listed the Toonami date for the English air date for the first episode. It's been edited back now, and it just gives, the original airing. So episode 1, English air date, August 28th, 1995. Episode 2, English air date, June 7th, 2024. That's almost 30 years gap. Oh, why did I have to say that? I feel so old now. Okay. So yeah, that's the big thing, I guess, that they skipped over this episode. I'm going to guess it might be... It was probably because of the part where the character, who's been somewhat hypnotized, basically, like pulls up this person's skirt, so you get the upskirt shot, which apparently the episode in some other dubs, aired, but they cut out that part. So, on the whole, though, I kind of this episode was cut out, and I kind of have to say, if this episode had been cut out, I probably wouldn't have noticed.
Yeah.
It was kind of boring, to be honest. Although I will notice once again we have at least Tuxedo Mask did something this time. Last episode he just shows up and says, "Hey, Sailor Moon, you should fight," and then leaves. This one he shows up, he just distracts a monster briefly and then leaves. So he does, I guess, a little more, which, from what I recall, is kind of his thing throughout the series. He just shows up, helps briefly, and then leaves. Is that what he does throughout the series, basically?
Yeah, that is what he does for most of the first season, at least.
Yeah.
So, get used to it.
Yeah, I was legitimately wondering, hey, maybe you should stay there and help her fight to make sure, things turn out okay. Maybe you could, find some way to communicate so that, you could fight the monsters together. Although, then again, I guess he has some way of finding them anyway, so no issues there. Yeah, I don't have too much to say other than I can't comment on the other characters because I can't remember the original series enough, but for some reason I really remember the cat's voice in the original dub, and I think I like that one more than this one. Just like the sort of upper class English accent I kind of like, whereas here the cat's just Rukia.
Yeah, it's just Rukia. That's all it is. And yeah, I agree that that was a pretty unique voice the original one had. So, yeah, having Rukia and Orihime as the two main voices, yeah, it kind of seems a little weird because that's who I'm thinking of every time I hear their voices.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so we got that. Then we've got Dragon Ball Z Kai episodes 3 and 4. So, Goku and Piccolo fight Raditz to try to save Gohan. Goku's able to get the upper hand because he grabs Raditz's tail because that's his weak point, like it was with Goku until the tail got, cut off being Dragon Ball. So Goku's able to, beat him with, is able to apparently stop him with that while Piccolo charges his laser. But then Raditz saying, "Oh, you shouldn't kill your brother. If you let me go, I'll leave this planet," and all that stuff. And Goku decides, well, okay. Except then there was a trick. So they end up having to keep fighting. Goku this time is able to hold him down and basically makes a sacrifice so that Piccolo, having charged his laser, sends up a blast that hits both of them and kills them both. So, but then, so then they're saying, okay, well, we can just wish Goku back to life with the Dragon Balls. Bad news is that they said that right where Raditz was because the other Saiyan guys he knew were listening in on that through the scouter transmitter. And okay, this is legitimate question. I've been wondering whether I should do editorializing in these descriptions at the end or in the middle. I think I'll just start doing them in the middle. How fast does that transmission go for them to hear it on another planet?
Yeah.
Because they're very clearly well outside of our solar system. How fast is this? Faster than light travel for that? Can sound do that? I mean, I guess on Star Trek you always just shrugged at the fact that you had faster than light communications. but that was a little in there. Anyway, Raditz helpfully tells them that the other Saiyans will be there in a year. I'm not sure why he volunteers that information, but it's convenient. Anyway, so they die. They're going to plan to just bring back Goku with the Dragon Balls, which is what they get used for about 95% of the time. Then Goku, well, he's dead, so he goes to the afterlife, and he just wants to go and get some training so he can come back to life and be able to fight the Saiyans. So he goes on the, how long was it? They said the 1,000,000 kilometers of Snake Way.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, which is dang, I had a point to explain how long that was, but for if you want the reference point in regards to that, that's 1,000,000. Earth's radius is a little over 6,000 kilometers. Anyway, so he basically goes off on that. He gets told that he does get oh yeah, be sure not to fall off Snake Way because that sends you to hell. And I'm like, you can, that can happen to you just by falling off this thing. That's okay. That seems kind of shoddily designed afterlife. Uh-huh. Actually, several things in this made me think, wow, this afterlife seems weirdly designed. But then at the end, I thought, well, still makes more sense than the afterlife in Bleach. So anyway, everyone decides that they have to train. Piccolo grabs Gohan and drags him away and said because he thinks Gohan needs training for the year. And yep, that's basically the episodes.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't really have much to add on that.
Yep, it's. I think it worked okay. It is part of the issue that once again, originally this was just the next part of Dragon Ball, and yet here, so many people have never watched Dragon Ball. They just started with this, so all of a sudden you're left thinking. So that the things like, Raditz showing up, that's a big twist and a big reveal about Goku and the fact that, okay, they managed to beat him, even if Goku died, but don't worry, there's guys who are like 10 times stronger than him that were coming. So that's kind of an effective way to set things up. Oh, they barely beat this guy, and now they're going to have to fight much stronger guys, so they're going to have to really train to be able to handle them. So yeah, it's decent. It's I thought. Okay, anything else?
No, that's all I really got on
okay.
that.
Lastly, we've got Naruto episode 2. So, this episode introduces Konohamaru. It's the second episode of the series. They're introducing a new character, and you'd probably think he's going to be really important. He's not, sorry. Anyway, just... I feel like this episode seems a lot worse in retrospect because you realize, no, Konohamaru never does anything important, really.
Yeah.
So it's sort of weird that they just spend the episode on him rather than, getting right away to the actually important characters of, Sasuke, Sakura, and Kakashi. But basically we find out Konohamaru is the grandson of the Hokage, and he wants to become the Hokage. So Naruto... So he decides to try to learn things from Naruto. We get a bunch of stuff with like Naruto's sexy jutsu, which is an excuse for some fan service, which apparently is also what Naruto ends up just by combining it with the Shadow Clone. He ends up beating the guy who was Konohamaru's teacher because he gets the super big nosebleed out of all of it. Doesn't need to get I wonder if he needs to get a blood transfusion. Remember when they did that in One Piece, where Sanji got such a big nosebleed from being surrounded by women that they had to get a transfusion for him? but then it was a problem because no one was going to give, because they were in the Mer people village and they wouldn't give it to a human. And it's so weird because it's played for so much drama and yet it's just such a stupid setup in One Piece. Okay, anyway, back to Naruto. Well, I already kind of covered all of it. And so, yeah, the episode basically introduces us to Konohamaru.
Yeah. And Konohamaru is not important at all. And it's really weird that he's like the first person we meet besides Naruto, because he's long forgotten about later on. So, yeah, but next episode we get Sasuke and Sakura, so that's important.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, look forward to that episode.
Yeah, I think if you're watching it for the first time, I think this episode is fine. It just kind of becomes worse in retrospect when you look and realize, wow, we spent this time setting this stuff up, but Konohamaru, I mean, he shows up. He's not like completely forgotten or totally irrelevant. It's just he doesn't really do anything important that I can think of after this. That's it. Now, there were some later parts of Naruto I didn't see, but I don't think he does anything too important in those. So I don't know, maybe the author originally intended to do more with him, but then changed his mind after other characters were more popular. Who knows? But it's just a little weird to look back in retrospect at that. And, just for the record, I believe there were two other things I wanted to mention. There's a part where Naruto is talking about, I can't remember his name, the guy who wears the sunglasses and was Konohamaru's teacher. And Naruto thinks, that icy stare, they all look at me that way. And I'm thinking, but he's wearing sunglasses. How do you know what his expression is? Also, I don't know how long I'll be keeping this up, but by my count, there were 3 cases of Believe It.
Oh, I thought there was like 4 or 5.
I might have missed some. I could have missed some. This isn't a perfect. I just wrote them down as I remembered them. I could have definitely forgotten some.
Yeah. I thought there was a couple more, but I could be wrong. But yeah, not a bad episode. Pretty good.
Okay, and that's it. That's all of the series. We're done. It's a good thing we went through some of those fast because there's so many. Maybe we need to. I don't know. We'll figure. But then again, sometimes your podcasts just get longer. I remember this one podcast I listened to. It started out, the things were like maybe 40 minutes long. They usually didn't go to a minute, and now they usually go to 2 hours. Mm-hmm. Okay. And yep, nothing else there. I guess we can give any top 3s we have now.
Yeah, I got mine right here. 3rd place, KonoSuba. 2nd place, Dark Gathering. And 1st place is Kaiju number 8.
Okay, for me. So, let me just think about this briefly. I was going to put them, I'm just pondering about the order to put 2 and 3 and such. Yeah, we'll do it in this order. I've gotten KonoSuba in 3rd, Kaiju number 8 in 2nd, and I'll put Full Metal Panic for 1st. I thought it was a pretty good episode. I got to give it credit for it got me interested in the more serious stuff, and that's the part of the series I usually don't like.
Yeah, definitely.
Even if I do think that Tessa's reaction to Sosuke was a little over the top, when she's chewing him out.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. Whew, I don't think I have any exciting news to talk about, so I'll turn it over to you. You have anything?
Well, I did watch that Cowboy Bebop movie. So it starts out pretty entertaining, and then about midway through gets kind of boring. And of all things, someone's trying to like unload this virus on everyone, so Spike and Faye have to somehow get this vaccine and have it rain down on everyone. It's really weird. And one of the people who you think is bad is actually good, and yeah, it's very confusing. And the best parts of it were whenever everyone was together at the beginning, and then they end up all separating and doing different things, and it kind of loses some of its appeal. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't really all that great. So I don't know. I give it like a 6 or 7 out of 10. Not sure which one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, better than the live action show, though, right?
Yeah, much better. Much better.
Okay. Yep. Well, like I said, I don't really have anything exciting to talk about. So for this episode, I guess that'll be the conclusion of it. We'll see you all next week for probably the same lineup of shows. We're still kind of thinking about what to do with Toonami Rewind, but we'll probably be checking it out at least for another week. And with all of that, I guess we'll just say we'll see you next time, and we'll try to do better.
Bye.
Two ordinary teens have made an extraordinary discovery.
Nice.
It was created to defend the Earth. But these guys have other ideas.
Check it out.
Now, an alien race is set to invade. You are no match for the claw! But Coop's modifications could mean the end of us all.
What have you done to my robot?
My robot.
The power of Megas just might save the world.
Piece of cake. Ooh, I could go for some cake.
If these two idiots don't screw it up first.
Your mom's so gonna kill you.
An all-new episode, Megas XLR, Saturday nights at 9. Mischief weighs a ton.
Where do I get one of those?
Only Toonami.